morning, everyone. Welcome to American Scousers Morning Coffee or Tea with American Scouser on a Wednesday morning. Back to being the greatest dads. And with us, as always, well, I don't know about as always, but regularly, our resident Diaz hater, John. What's going on?
Yeah, I've been 3 weeks, almost a month in a row now, man. I think the injuries are behind me. I think it's behind me now. I think I'm finally getting that run of games, getting into the side, establishing myself, Hopefully I didn't just jinx myself like we do with Thiago all the time or Jota or whatever. But yeah, happy on a very warm Wednesday morning here in New York. Like it's getting really hot now, which is I'm welcoming it, man. I'm sick of the cold at this point.
Honestly, it's been like hot, but it's been like literally raining nonstop, and it's supposed to rain all freaking day, I guess.
That's
Sergi
awful.
Allen in the chat. Good morning, gentlemen. And Ryan makes an appearance. Where the heck have you been? So yes, good to have everybody on board. Grab your cup of tea.
That's a name I haven't heard in a while. Ryan Thompson.
Ryan, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Ryan usually has to watch after the facts, kind of an ordeal, but haven't seen him in the chats in a while. Do we have the oat milk going in that coffee again, or what?
Oh, you know it. You know it.
There is no other way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, a few things to talk to. We'll start with the Kerkez thing. Last night, so this is 8 hours ago, so I was still awake. Before I went to bed over here, I saw this post from Fabrizio basically saying Liverpool are prepared to seal the Milos Kerkez deal. Here we go soon. And then I actually saw another post somewhere that, they were already trying to determine who is going to make way for Kerkez in that squad. I guess it's a no-brainer to ask you what do you think about the Kerkez deal, good or bad kind of thing. I mean, he's in the season. He's the left back in the Premier League season on everybody's Premier League season team. Who do you think makes way? I guess is the bigger question when it comes to that. Is it Costas? Is it Robertson?
Should be Costas. I mean, we kind of talked about it last week. Like Robertson, he can still be relied on at times, but not throughout a 38-game league season, plus Champions League, plus FA Cup, plus League Cup. You're going to want to kind of stagger his minutes throughout the year. And unfortunately, his best trait, which is him just bombing forward, being that physical monster, it's passed, right? We still see some flashes, but not consistent enough for him to be, a regular starter. And Kerkez is just going to be what he was back in his prime. So like I mentioned in that short, if you like last week's short, we're replacing the best left back of our time with a guy who could possibly be the best left back again for Liverpool. So it's an absolute no-brainer. And we were actually talking about it before the show started. Paul Joyce just released an update regarding that. Like it's more of the same, but there is a key thing here that a key piece of news here that Bournemouth are adamant that they will not negotiate on anything below 45 million. Now, listen, if you were going to tell me when I started watching football that 45 million for a left back, that's insane money. But then at the same time, like what we're talking about, it's a no-brainer, right? Like it's a no-brainer to get this guy if we're really serious about retaining our title.
Yeah, I think so. Or here's my thing. Is it really the guy to get necessarily? Yes. I mean, right now, he's probably the best guy you can get. But let's face it, every season there's another back that is the hot one that, every fan wants to get and stuff. But yeah, I think he fits in terms of he checks a lot of boxes. So there is really that for sure. 45 does seem steep, but he's young. I mean, you're kind of building the team of the future here in some ways for the next 4 or 5 years with the age of the signings you're going after, whether it's Frimpong or Wirtz or now Kerkez. So they are basically young players. So it just says we can get Nuno Mendes for 50.
Is that a fact? His release clause is 50?
Really?
I don't know. I'm asking.
I think the thing that really increases Kerkez's price is the fact that he is Premier League proven.
Yes.
Compared to, for example, Nuno Mendes, who could still be a possible risk in terms of bringing into the Premier League. I think he will do well. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Nuno Mendes is like a great player. He has the pace and everything like that. But I think in terms of like strength and being able to keep up with the pace of the game at the Premier League is like a totally different deal. And I think, if you ever, and people think, like, oh, it's like pros and stuff. There's a huge difference. And you can kind of tell the difference. If you want to see a drastic difference, watch a Premier League game, and then you can go watch like Major League Soccer, or I watch the Turkish League, for example. There's a huge change in the pace and the physicality of the game. So you're getting a guy who's proven to be able to handle that. Ryan says, I really love the idea of having a robo in our pocket for big games. Yeah, I think so. As a cat, I don't think we're going to have anybody who's going to come out and say, no, I'd rather keep Costas. I just don't think so.
I love how you just. I felt like that didn't need. I felt like that.
Know yourself, but I think the important thing is Robertson okay with that setup?
I love how you just had to drive that home just to rub more salt in the wound, man. That didn't. That did not need to be said. Like, everyone in this planet knew that Costas just had to go, and you were just like, I'm sure no one would say that Costas. Like,
I was hoping somebody would take the bait in the comments, but no, exactly. I'm right. It's facts that nobody would have wanted. Also, like Kabak is in the house. Günaydın is right. Good morning, man. By the way, special thanks goes to Ozan Kabak. I missed it. I can't remember. Was it the Friday show that I never like really promoted? It is over there for anybody who wants to do the super chats and stuff like that. But Ozan Kabak was one of the first. I think Sergi has done it once in terms of getting us a super chats in the comments. But literally, it was as we were going out. So I actually like hashtagged I put it on the screen, but the final music was playing. So special thanks there. It does help the site a lot. Basically, we get whatever we get and put it back in the site. We give it to John. That's why how John shows up with your with the money everybody sends over here. For every season, there is a reason. It's like one of those days. It's time to sell. It's time to buy. It's gonna be one of the. Oh, Mario is here. Good morning, sir. I was chatting with Mario late last night because Mario is fighting the good fight. I think actually he might have been fighting the good fight for you, John, of all things.
Really?
It's your reel that loves to get a lot of hate. I'm pretty sure it was yours.
The one about Trent?
What was that?
The one about Trent?
I can't remember.
Was it? I love how there's like a list.
Similar hate, but it was very anti-American hate. And then Mario
it's
was
so funny because like anti-American, like bro, like if you hear my accent, it is not American.
Actually, somebody did say that. He's like, he's not even American or a Scouser, kind of. It's just like, yep, that's what we are. Right. Timuchin has never gotten the dude. It doesn't like. I don't think people always automatically think like, I got something against Costas because he's Greek or something, and I'm Turkish. I don't buy into that Turkish Greek thing. By the way, it's some political bullshit. We're literally the same people eating the same food and everything. But it's just I know that was going to happen. No, he's just not a good left back. I mean, that's all it is. Nobody will say if I say against something Turkish, you're like, you remember the Hungarian war in like 1832? Okay. Like,
Tim, can you make an argument that Costas is at least, at the very least, at best, a cult hero?
Yes, I can.
Okay, that's good. I just wanted you to give him some credit. I just wanted to give him.
Oh wait, this whole thing about let's not go back to he won us the FA Cup.
He didn't win. Someone had to take penalty. All right. In the comments, Costas taking that penalty to win us the FA Cup. Someone still had to take it. Someone still had to bury it. We got to give him credit, right? It's not something like, listen, Curtis Jones, Darwin Nunez, Champions League final against PSG, they missed penalties. So you got to score them, right? This was the highest pressure penalty in that final, probably after Jota's, right? After Mane missed, right? Jota came next. So he was probably the highest pressure. Then Costas came to win it. He still had to bury it. I'm not saying
in the penalty shootout.
Before Sergi, like, I gotta get ahead of this. I'm not saying I want to keep Costas. I'm just saying that he's probably earned cult hero status, I would say, in this team. And I asked that question just for Timuchin to give him some credit to balance it out. Okay,
There is this, honestly. Like, if I think of him like in a final playing a
right.
crucial role, this is probably more the corner that he took when we won with the kids against Chelsea, which Rosa is in the comments, so I don't
That's a
know.
good poll. That's a good poll, by the way. Which is more iconic, Costas penalty or Costas corner?
Yeah, that's some poll I will not be voting on, but
Come on, man, you
good
gotta
morning.
vote.
What's going on? Like I say, I don't have anything against it, dude. It's just a matter of like
Yeah,
I
I
just
get
don't
you.
think he's a good left back overall. He's not good enough physically and everything. It literally looks like a 10-year-old playing out there in terms of strength and everything. His set pieces and delivery has been a lot better, like one of the better ones we have. I mean,
Oh yeah,
especially the corners and stuff like that. He had a couple this year actually in the couple of games he
yep.
played. So, but having said that, I would much rather, as long as Robertson is cool with this ordeal, if Kerkez is coming, I would much rather keep Robertson and our left backs that be Robertson and Kerkez as opposed to Costas. Did Mane miss on that one? I totally forget
He
out of
did.
that.
He did. Unfortunate. Like he was the one to win it, but then he was against. Who was the Chelsea goalkeeper? The Senegalese as well. He was good. I forget his name. Chelsea had a ton of goalkeepers over the last 10.
Yes, one of the many Chelsea
So
goals.
this guy was good. I forget it. Mendy. He was against he was against his teammate in Senegal, which is why my friend was telling me like Mendy's gonna save this. He knows where Mane's gonna place this pen.
That's right. I do remember that now. You're right. You're right.
Mhm.
Because the other one, I always forget, mix up the penalty shootout. That's what Chelsea and us did a bunch of them. But there's the one with Costas. There's the one with the goalies taking it. Kelleher.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do this. Totally off. We totally went on a different tangent. As always, very
As
typical
always,
of the morning show. Because I didn't want to get to. I think Ozan was asking a question regarding, and we were about to talk about that actually. Some of the staff going to the city back room or whatever you want to call it. But Kelleher or Costas, who's more of a cult hero, who has more iconic moments.
Kelleher, 1,000,000%.
Because almost like he won us the League Cup because he was in goal during the penalties.
He did.
Happened to take one of them.
He just did more, man. He just has more in the bank for the cult hero. I would say so. So there's cult hero, right? There's legend. What's the in between? I feel like he's there.
I'm still at the like. How is Costas a cult hero? Will Costas be remembered 20 years from now?
Yes, like when those highlights come up, like we won
on this day. The highlights coming up. I mean, obviously, if the highlights come up, I'm gonna be in like a retirement home. But I remember he was
another good poll. Another good poll, man. Like, will Costas be remembered 20 years from now?
Okay, I am not doing Costas poll. I am not doing Costas poll, but 20 years from now, you probably will not remember Costas. To me, a cult hero is more of a dude like Divock. Where you will remember Divock 20 years from now.
See, my measurements are all messed up, as you could tell when we had the whole Trent talk thing. I actually consider Origi as a legend. So
well, there we go. Ozan was just asking you. There you go.
Yeah, actually. Yeah.
Okay, you guys are throwing legend around way too easily. If our backup goalie is a legend, we got a long way to go over here. I mean, a legend to me has to be a guy who plays for a long time. Like, I don't know, maybe I have like a really, really high ceiling for it. Like a legend is like Dalglish, Gerrard, Barnes. I don't know.
So
like Mo is in that status now and stuff like that. I mean, that's like a Liverpool legend. People you will remember and is going to be in history books for like decades to come. Nobody's remembering like, Kelleher 20, 30 years from now.
Really? You think so? I think people will. No, I don't know, because
the only people who will remember it is the one. Okay, let's put it this way: 20 years from now, a young dude like yourself is not gonna remember anything about Kelleher, or he's not gonna hear anything about Kelleher. Whereas he will about like Divock and stuff like that. To me, like he's more of a cult hero. But the legend thing, he will hear about all the other legends. There's no debate that he'll know about Mo Salah, but he's very likely not know anything about Kelleher.
I mean,
I feel it unless you tell him every morning Kelleher and Costas was a legend when you wake him up.
I
He's
feel
not going
like
to know anything.
I feel like the circumstances, especially like during the League Cup, we'll remember Allison Becker.
Yes.
And we know, and if we remember Allison, we'll know that he's injury prone, and we'll know, oh, our second choice was pretty decent at the time too. He won us like that penalty shootout. He took the penalty that won us that penalty shootout, right? Like in the League Cup and everything like that. I don't know. I feel like I would, but then of course you could be right as well. Like who knows in 20 years? I just obviously recency bias plays a lot into the psychology.
Yes, that's
So,
what I'm saying. Like we're remembering
yeah.
it now, and so like, oh, within the last 5 years, yeah, he was a legend that moment and stuff like that. But my thing is, for you to be a legend, you have to be remembered 20, 30 years from now.
But then,
20, 30 years from now, I know you're saying that now,
Yeah.
but 20, 30 years from now, when somebody says Allison, nobody's going to be like, oh, yeah, man, I remember he was injury prone. Nobody's going to say that. That's not what you're going to remember out of a player. It's going to be like, I don't remember the injury record of like Dalglish and Barnes and stuff like that. I'm not going to be like,
fair, that's fair.
He was up for 4 months. Like, you don't remember that. You're going to remember more moments and, what they won with the team and stuff like that. So Ali is going to be one of those legendary goalies you remember. You're not going to remember, oh, yeah, but he was injured all the time and stuff like that.
With me, like in terms of like legends, because obviously we're talking about our definitions and everything there, and you just mentioned yours. I like it's just like a follow-up to my question earlier. Like there's cult hero and then there's legend, right? And then like in typical football discussion, there's no like in between. So you're either just a cult hero or a straight up legend. So which is why for me, like in my rankings, like I have legends, but I have tiers. Like a tier 3 legend, tier 2.
Okay.
Yeah. So like you got, and it's my own personal rankings, right? It's all dependent on a person.
It's John's legend.
Yeah.
I want a video series on our YouTube channel.
So
John's legend ranking.
Right, my legend rankings, and I would put Kelleher as a solid tier 3 legend, man. Like he won us 2 cups. He produced plenty of iconic moments. Penalty save against Mbappe. The penalty to win us that League Cup, then that Kepa missed.
The penalty against Mbappe, you're going to remember?
Penalty save against Mbappe, yeah. Real Madrid, our first win against Real Madrid in so long. These guys had...
I had already forgotten about that. Leave alone. Like, now when you remember...
Are you serious? Like, I don't know, man. Like,
and I'm not that old, by the way. Like, I remember these people, but there's a difference between
all right. For the comments, do you guys forget... Do you guys easily forget Kelleher's save against Mbappe? Like, listen, that was...
When you say Kelleher, that moment doesn't come to my mind.
Really? It does, man, for me. Like, biggest stage.
Like, the Champions League ended so sourly for me.
It's not about... Well, you're looking big picture, but then if you're looking at the moment, it was pretty good because we haven't beaten Real Madrid at all in the Klopp era. It's our first matchup against them with our new manager. And we beat them in that fashion with Kelleher saving a penalty. I don't know, man. It's pretty, I don't know. It's written like a movie a little bit. I don't know.
So you're saying 20 years from now, somebody's going to be like, oh, remember Kelleher? He had saved that penalty in the...
Well, yeah, by your definition of a legend, maybe. But then for me, maybe I'd probably remember him as a
How many tiers in this damn thing? How many tiers do you have?
3 tiers. Tier 1... Yeah, tier 2, tier 3.
So my tier basically is just the first tier.
Right, your tier is just immediately like S tier, bro. Like there's nothing below it. Anything below it is nothing. It's like you're the best or nothing, man. Like,
I mean, how am I being? I'm not grumpy. I'm just like more picky. Maybe was it a picky?
It's totally and I'm not saying you're wrong, man. It's totally dependent on the person. What's their definition? It's just semantics. It's up to
I mean, I think we're gonna remember this, but like I say, like to me, to be a legend, you have to be. I think actually this is a valid question. Man, this conversation went all over the place. If someone plays for a long time but are crap, see, I don't think Klein was crap necessarily.
Maybe for Palace, Kevin is saying for Palace.
He says
for both our teams. Okay, sorry, I didn't read that part. Yeah.
I mean, I don't even consider, like when I look back, I don't say Klein was crap, to be honest with you.
He was solid, but he had his limitations.
No, I don't. I mean, for them to so it has to be somebody successful and not crap, I guess. Yeah. And I hate to say it, like it has to be somebody not winning necessarily, right? They don't have to win stuff, but in some ways, it helps to have them in winning moments. Because when you remember it, like I say, like that's why I probably will not remember that penalty save. if we won that year and that was like Ali's save against Napoli, I will remember probably, right? Because it eventually led to you progressing and winning the whole damn thing. But the other one is going to get lost in the mix for me because it didn't eventually lead to winning. So it's a bit easier to forget a moment somewhere in the group stages. But I think that's the thing with Klein. Like, I don't know, like, are there a lot of moments I remember of Klein?
No, not really.
But I wouldn't consider him like crap either. Maybe because we had so much crap along the years. Klein doesn't look that bad. But let's talk about this.
Before we go on another tangent.
So obviously Pep is going there. Linders. Or is it Linders? Is it Linders or is it Linders?
I have no clue, man. I say Linders, but
I've always said Linders, so let's stick with it. And now James French is going. I'm sure there are already people losing their head for some unknown, for a name they had not heard of ever, going to City. But what do you think about that? I think the Pep thing is a lot bigger deal and a lot more discussion getter, if you will. What do you think? They've actually made some moves today as well. They got Reinders, and they did not get it. It's not official yet, but Turkey is going that way as well, which is always interesting because I find that the complete opposite. Normally, you would see City signing Wirtz and us going for the cheaper option that's possible kind of thing. So it's odd to see the scenario flip. But we'll get to that. Pep, the Pep boys. What do you make of it?
Don't care. I didn't care.
Okay. Like, when you heard the news, what was your reaction? I guess
I was just like, "Oh, that's funny," as if like because there's a certain sect of our fan base, and they have their reasons, right? And they can have their reasons who don't like Pep Linders. This is just gonna fuel that fire even more. Especially when he came out with that book, the whole intensity thing, and then we just had like.
No intensity.
We had no intensity on the pitch, right? Like you took the words out of my mouth. Yeah, I was gonna go for that, but yeah, it's just what, to an extent, it's what we expected as well from City. Like after that season, we expected them to do what it takes, whether that's on the player front or the transfer front or on the coaching front, to make some major shakeups in order for them to come back to the level that they want to. Which is kind of why I don't care. I didn't really care, but then the fact that it was Pep, our former Pep, who made it a little bit interesting, right? There might be a little bit of it, some, I wouldn't say bad blood, but then obviously if you're a coach, you kind of want to beat your former team, regardless of whether it was your former boss in charge or not. So, yeah, it plays into the whole storyline dynamic. I'm more concerned what you mentioned on the transfer front, what they're doing, because if everyone is healthy. And I'm still gonna stick by this. If we're healthy with our best squad, if Arsenal is healthy with their best squad, if City's healthy with their best squad, I know who I'm most afraid of, right? I know who I'm most afraid of.
Yes. Yeah. I think so too. I think I mostly agree. Depends on how many additions they get and who they're able to replace. Yeah, the training is our transfer ordeal, which then like he's going to the wrong place in some ways. But yeah, when I heard it, I understand talking about recency bias. I think a lot of people are like almost like offended, worried because he's going to a rival and stuff like that. Honestly, City has been a factor and a rival in this last decade, pretty much. That's about it. Once the oil money came in and all the under the table deals started happening. Before then, I don't think anybody considered them a rival like United or Everton or anything like that. So, and at the end of the day, the guy has to work. Nobody's going to hire him to be the guy right now, I'm assuming, at this point. Obviously his experience is here. I'm actually amazed. He's probably impressed too that he's able to bounce back into a more high profile job as opposed to like just being an assistant somewhere else. But you knew he was going to be an assistant to a top manager again, because he has I think a lot of people thought and wrote, which I don't understand how people's thinking works over here, but like, why didn't he come here? Because we happen to have our assistant go to Ajax to become the manager, but
Mm.
who hires the old assistant to come back into the
Yeah.
new regime
Yeah,
to be
yeah.
the assistant of the new guy? Like, have you guys never worked in a place where you don't want that? Like, there's a change, it has changed. There's a new regime. You don't bring a guy from the top from the old regime and put him in the new regime and get all the signals jacked up over there. So for people who think that, I don't understand if they've never worked in a workplace with management in place where you can't just bring the old system back with a new manager, especially after leaving, coming back, and then
Yeah.
not expect to be any issues because Pep is going to be like, this is how we used to do it. And Slaughter's like, well, that's how we do it now. We don't get
Yeah.
people injured anymore.
Right, especially like we just won the league, so there's nothing really to change in the coaching front. Like you need more of the same. Like,
That's a good point, actually. Do you think if we didn't win the league, it would be like, yeah, man, come back because we need that?
I still don't.
Whatever
I
again.
still don't think so as well. Like any inkling from the old regime probably wanted to be stamped out, especially since there's more there's more say from the front office in terms of the players that we're gonna get. And because they have more say of the players that we're going to get, it sort of dictates the style as well.
Yeah.
Like if we got Pep coming back, what are we going to do? Play bombing fullbacks again, get another playmaking fullback and have everything revolve around him? Like,
yeah.
I'm not saying it didn't work. It worked for a time, but then we've moved on from that. So it's
I think I blame Pep for the demise of Trent.
Listen, that is an entire video in and of itself. I agree with you, by the way. Like the lack of accountability on Trent's part, that Klopp and Pep probably played a part in that.
Oh, I mean, Pep. I've seen a video where Pep is talking about him literally begging to give it a shot to put Trent in midfield and stuff like that, and that was the end of it. No issue. Didn't want him. He didn't go. Yeah, that's another thing. He didn't go there direct. Good luck in getting intensity from John Stones and Grealish. There'll be some
good point.
parties coming from Grealish, but Pep failed as a manager for every club he's ever been. Yeah, because honestly, there is such a thing that some people are great assistants, but not great managers. Some people are just great number twos. That didn't sound right, but you know what I mean. Like they can be the number two and be like the assistant and do a really good job at it, but they can never be number one and be in charge because that's their role that they're more comfortable with. And I think maybe he knows that he's a really good assistant once somebody is above him, like kind of like maintaining and holding the whole thing. So he's free to do whatever he wants. He's like a free floating number 10, if you will. So he can focus on his things. And they got this analyst because probably Pep said, hey, we should get him because he helped me a lot and stuff like that. So, I mean, I liked what Pep did. And I remember way back in the day, not when Klopp announced he was leaving, but like 2-3 years before that, there was a lot of conversation. That's when Gerrard was on like Villa.
Yeah.
People were like, who should be Klopp's successor, Pep or Gerrard? And at the time, my vote was Pep over Gerrard.
It would make sense at the time. It would make perfect sense at the time because if we're just going to transition, if we're talking about the most seamless transition, like, no question. And I don't know if we're talking about managerial pedigree, I would say in terms of being the top dog, well, Stevie succeeded in Scotland, but then how much does that weigh? Right. Yeah. No offense to, Scottish football fans and Scottish people, but then obviously it didn't translate well to the Premier League. And it's a great point, floating number 2.
Yeah, he did well over there. And that's the thing. I just didn't want, I'm kind of like not too big on having the ex-players because then it got harder to judge their managerial performance.
Especially since Lampard was just at Chelsea at the time. So we're seeing like in real time what happens if a very recent club legend gets into management and doesn't work out. It tarnishes.
He did bomb in Saudi Arabia as
well. Yeah.
He didn't go to one of the big 4 boys, I think. So I think you're kind of like
their marquee signing was Jordan Henderson. Like, we love Hendo, but then like if he's your marquee signing, listen.
Yeah. I think he brought him over there. I remember he brought him over there because he was gonna like show everybody. I mean, you remember that clip from like the practice session? It was like, we need somebody who can pass the ball over here. But I think it was just like that was more. I think when he made that move, that basically said to the world, he's not interested in this managerial career anymore. He could have gone down to like championship and stuff like that, like Lampard has done, for example. I feel like he's a bit more focused on going up in the managerial world than maybe Stevie. I mean, here's the thing, like especially when you have like kids and stuff like that, I can see why somebody would be rather be like, oh, you know what, I'll just be a pundit here and there instead of like being a manager, because it is a big commitment. I mean, you're basically continuing your career over here. But yeah, I mean, that's the reason I didn't want personally Stevie G at the time, because he hadn't bombed at Villa yet. He was still like new at Villa. He was still like the stock was going up. But that would be like you hiring Costas back as a manager. So yeah, when he puts the wrong lineup, you're gonna be like, but remember that FA Cup? Oh, that was something.
You were never gonna let that go, man.
What a legend!
I'd hire Costas to be my my hype guy, not my manager. Like he seems like a very good character in the locker room, getting everyone motivated. So I'd hire him as the hype guy.
And look, I mean, he has the value in that sense, and that's why I kind of worry that Robertson will be the one to go, because you have a guy who's very content at being a squad player, and you do need some guys like that. I mean, some people like knock the ambition of a player like that, who's okay with being the rotation player and the squad player and, you know, playing in the cup games and stuff like that. But, you know, if you can come in and do your job like Divac did and stuff like that, yeah, more power to you. That's why I worry that Costas will be the one staying, because he's okay with that role to sit behind Kerkez, whereas Robertson might not be.
Yeah, which is and kind of going on a side tangent on that subject. We talked about legends earlier. Longest serving player, he's sort of in the Costas role, right? Does what he's told, plays wherever he needs to. Joe Gomez.
Yes.
Do you consider, like, in terms of, like, someone talked about longevity? All right, I guess I won't ask you because your standard is like very high, but he's
Joe a legend
in terms of like.
Man, you have a lot of tiers, man.
I probably won't put him in a tier as well. Yeah.
He does. I love Joe, by the way, and I do.
I was thinking like of an iconic moment that could put him in my rankings, but I can't think of anything, unfortunately.
I just like, I think because he hasn't scored a goal, I guess.
No, but... and even like a piece of defending, like with Van Dijk, you remember that run that defending he made on Son in the Champions League final or something. You know what I mean? Like a moment like that, where he catches up and then just prevents a one-on-one with Alisson or something like that.
Yes.
So like
it was Sissoko, I think, right? Who was going?
There's stuff like that with Big Verger a ton, but with Joe, I can't think of anything. You know. Look at Sir Z here. He just
look back at Joe. I will remember him as, first of all, unlucky what he could have been, kind of thing, because he has been unlucky with injuries, and not all of them have been like muscle injuries. He's had some like horrific ones because of a tackle and stuff like that, like contact injuries. I will remember him as at one point being a duo with Van Dijk, where we were like, man, we're set for 5 years because of their age and stuff like that. They were by far the best duo in the Premier League at the time. But then, see, Matip, is a cult hero. Because you will remember a lot of Matip moments and his whole character and stuff like that.
The thing is,
will remember Matip 20 years from now.
Cult hero for you, I have Matip in between, the cult hero and legend thing.
Tier 2.5.
I guess, yeah, if you want to call it that. I think he's higher than a cult.
You're not putting Joe in the same brackets in your.
I always rated Matip over Joe. That's my thing. I think he's technically better. He's taller, so he's physically better. Joe is faster. But Matip is stronger. He's taller. He can head the ball better. And I think he's just intelligent. More intelligent than Joe. I think Joe...
I mean, like I say, I will definitely like fondly remember Matip. Whenever you say somebody says Matip, there's like a smile that forms on your face. And that says it all, right? Because we remember moments. We remember what a goofy dude he was and stuff like that.
Right.
With Joey, I'm like, I was seeing like videos like during the celebrations and stuff like that. But I was like, oh man, like Joey, I hope he stays, because he has been... Yeah, he was actually, like, when I watched highlights, I think he played the first City game. Joe was in there.
That's true.
So I hope he stays, and he's healthy, because he will be a very valuable part of the rotation. But I don't know. I mean, in some ways, I know he would want to go somewhere where he does something.
No, that is my question, actually. Do you think Joe, there is a bit of Costas in terms of, like, because the thing is, if he wanted to leave, his stock wouldn't have been as high as last year, because where he like played everything and delivered at least a 6.5 or a 7 out of 10, even when he was out of position. So if there was a time for him to leave, it would have been last year, where his stock was yeah, you know what I mean? So maybe there is like a part of him where he's like, yeah, I'm content being the right. I don't know.
I think for Liverpool, the issue has been we've never been in a situation where we're always short of center back. It feels like we've never been in a situation where we had like we were in a position to be able to afford to sell a center back because it was always like, dude, we're already short. So I think that's one thing. And because of his injury record, obviously, nobody wants to fork out, like 50, 60 for him and stuff like that. And that's why I think he's more valuable kept in the squad than selling him for like 25, 30 million or something like that. I don't even know what his value would be in the market right now because of the injury history. It ends up being a risk to sign Joe. But I really think, I love the kids. I love watching him play. So I do hope he sticks around and is part of like the rotation over there. So
transfer market has him as 25 million.
Yeah, see, I think he's more valuable to you than what you're gonna get for 25 million.
For sure. Yeah.
And what is his age? 28, something like that?
Hold on. Google.
Mr. Google in effect.
Yeah, you're right. 28. He's still like,
he's still 28 because like he's been around forever. You feel like he should be like 36 or something like that, but he's still only like 28 years old. So I mean, I don't know. I do hope he stays, and I don't think we can afford to because the rumors are always Kwanzaa being sold, and I don't know if that's because we know Kwanzaa will fetch more kind of a deal, but you have to be careful in terms of your own depth. And because, the replacement cost, how much is it going to cost for you to get another center back to replace Kwanzaa in that rotation? Unless they have people that they've already earmarked and said, hey, you know what, we'll get this guy. Like he plays here, he's 25 million. We sell him for 50 or something like that. I get that. But I worry anybody who's like out there trying to market Kwanzaa to get Wirtz and stuff like that. Dude, it already feels like we're a center back short. And if you do not sign Konate to an extension, if he's not signing, I'm not doing another year of freaking talking contract.
Yeah, we gotta sell him.
November and shit. So better off selling him now, so that he doesn't leave for nothing. Because I don't think he wouldn't get to blame like Trent because
Yeah, it just didn't work out.
Yeah,
it just didn't work out.
They're giving me more. I'm just gonna play it out, kind of a deal. And let me ask you that though: do you think? I mean, there's rumors, and Konate has come out and said they're rumors, but how much is a fair wage, for example, for a player like Konate, who also has an injury history? We're going to talk about the injury numbers in a second here. So this year has been the exception more than the rule for Konate, but it has been for the entire team too. So maybe was he not just suitable to play in the Klopp system or Klopp's training regime or whatever? Or
there's that. Yeah, I think. In an ideal world, we'd have another season for us to test that theory that it was just Klopp's system that made him really injury prone, right? Whereas, and like the time that he missed now is because that bozo from Real Madrid gave him a tackle, right? It wasn't like a training injury, like it was that dumbass from Real Madrid. So I think
I don't like that little piece of shit.
Exactly, man.
I'm glad he didn't get chosen to that's the most comical thing ever, by the way, for Ancelotti to then go over there and say, I didn't pick him because he doesn't play in his own team when he was the manager in his own team. So that serves him right. But go ahead, sorry.
Yeah. To answer your question, like straight up before I go on a tangent, I think around 100K, because I think he's at 70 right now, 70, 75.
Dude. Then you might as well sell him. He's not staying for 100 a week. No way.
Really?
No way.
I don't know. That's how much I'd give him. 100.
I wouldn't even go into the room to offer that if I were you.
I mean, we got Luis Diaz
earning some time.
we got Luis Diaz earning 35 though,
but he's coming in. And you're not signing Diaz to an extension now where you're giving him.
Yeah, no, I mean, well, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, we have players who have also delivered and have been productive over the last few seasons.
But he's on those wages coming in. He's not like if you redid, and that's why the rumor today is like Liverpool saying they are not willing to sell Diaz. They're not entertaining offers for Diaz.
Yeah.
But then also they're not going, like, they're not talking about an extension either yet.
Yeah.
Because he has 2 seasons left in his contract and stuff. Because if they did an extension, I guarantee you it's not going to be what anybody else would offer Diaz. One, because of his age. But I think, like, he's on those wages because he came from Porto with those expectations. It would be like even more. Yeah, I saw that this morning from like Paul Joyce. But of course, that could be, Liverpool saying, I don't know, we're not really selling him, but
just
kind of a thing. So I mean, that could be Liverpool playing hard to get.
Highest I'd go is 120. Yeah,
this looks like that episode. Like,
yeah,
I'll give you 120. Take it or leave it. Yeah. I think you're talking 150 to 200.
No, thank you, sir.
I don't know what the live audience thinks, but
no, thank you, sir.
What Konate would ask for, I think, would be that. But here's my thing. While, I mean, those numbers are increasing, by the way. So the 120,000 doesn't buy what it used to. But is when you get a new center back, how much is it going to cost you to sign a new guy to replace Konate? Because you're not now signing a new guy for like 30, 40 million. You're just giving him an extra.
Yeah, I get that.
6,000 a week.
I get that. But then I'm also still not convinced. That's funny. That's funny.
John Henry's son over here is like, Dad won't pay that.
Yeah, Dad won't pay that. No, thank you. Like I like the moment you gave that figure, like just no, I know him. But I'm still not convinced on the injury front as well.
Okay.
Like, if we give him the 200, 175 to 200, I'm still not convinced that he would be staying healthy the entire year. And I remember Kazi, he loves to mention it, and I agree. There's something about him. He doesn't. What's Kazi's term? Always the bridesmaid. Like, there is like an element in his game that's missing for me. That's like his hurdle to being a truly elite CB. And 175 to 200,000, that's elite center back money. I don't think he's just quite that level yet.
See, I feel like that's a little unfair to call him always the bridesmaid, because I mean, it's not unless he goes and kills the bride, he's not gonna be a bride. I mean, nobody's gonna be next to Van Dijk, and we're gonna say he's really carrying Van Dijk over here.
I'm not.
And there have been games this season where Konate has been better than Van Dijk. Van Dijk had like a little dip for like 3-4 games, I remember, mid-season. I mean, where like Konate has been our best center back recently. So I understand that, but whoever we put next to Van Dijk always gets this label that he's good because he is next to Van Dijk. Okay, I mean, you can never be he is automatically going to be the bridesmaid because Van Dijk is there for another 2 years. Like, what would you like to see? I guess
Konate?
So you're going to be like, he can be the bride. I'll take him.
Well, there are just games where he's off, man.
John does what? Costas at center back. That would be a comedy.
There's just games where there's just games where he's off, like positionally. The timing, speed, marking his guy. They're just games where he's off. Where sometimes he has that instance where he just shows that he's still young. He's still relatively young, and that shows sometimes in his game. But then more for me is like why I don't want to commit that money is because I'm worried that we're gonna have a span where he's missing for like 6 months, 3 months, or something like that. Then that's going to be poor. For his performances, I like I mentioned, I do agree with Kazi to an extent that he is sometimes it's lacking, but then at the same time, he's also still young. So he can iron that out. And if Liverpool are willing to gamble on him, being healthy and improving that aspect of his game, I would totally understand. But kind of like that 45 million for Kerkez, it is looking a little steep for me. I don't know.
Van Dijk was not. I mean, for a center back, they do. That's why I don't understand the impatience on Kwanzaa either. Like nobody, it's very rare for like a 20-21-year-old.
So I guess you would give that money.
I would, yes. 200, yes, easy.
Okay.
I think that's the low end, by the way. Like he's not gonna want 200. I think he's gonna want because he's gonna be your future basically centerpiece in the defense after Van Dijk leaves. It's gonna be like whoever is next to Konate looks good for the next 5 years or whatever after Van Dijk leaves. That should be your goal ultimately, like, doing that. So like in terms of Konate, I feel like, whoever we put next to Van Dijk we always like judge him differently. But we forget that whoever we put next to Van Dijk is also playing right back for the last 4 or 5 years.
Mm.
And he's doing double the work. Whereas Van Dijk can bark at Robertson and get his butt back there and play better D. Our right center back, but by design and mostly by design, has had to cover more for the right back than Van Dijk has had to cover for the left back. And there are times where, even when Trent is back there, you watch, the give and goes and stuff where Trent loses suddenly. So he has to do a lot more. Whoever you put on the right hand side always has had to do a lot more.
Which is why in an ideal world, what I was saying a while ago, we'd have another season to test out what I'm worrying the most about, which is his injury record. If he could go another season.
But by then it's too late.
Yeah, I know. But then that's why I said in an ideal world. Which is why like it makes for a good conversation, because we don't have that luxury now. We have to make a decision.
You had to make a decision. So let's talk about this a little bit. So Liverpool saw their injuries reduced by 64.3% compared to last season. The percentage is kind of like deceiving because it was pretty rough the year before.
Oh, yeah.
But you look at this over here, and I don't know if you can like see it well, because God knows I can't, but my eyesight sucks. So there's that. Let me pull it up over here, but like a bigger version for my bad eyes. But I mean, 19th in the league, basically number of injuries leading to 1+ games. So not one, but more than one, is 22 for Liverpool, which is basically like second lowest, right above Forest. So the funny thing is, like you see Crystal Palace down there. So when you look at those teams, for the most part, the bottom of it has performed decently, except West Ham. They have no excuse, so they can't even say injuries because they're only. But in terms of days lost, is 765, whereas it looks like the league average is about 1,000, 1,100, and stuff like that. I mean, Brighton. Here's the thing, though. Like Brighton is at 1,944 minutes, but that Fardy, for example, has been out half the season.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a starter for him when he went out because he played against us and stuff. So sometimes you can have a couple of players. Obviously, Spurs are up there. Ipswich is up there. I guess the main question I'm going to ask you is, do you think this is just, I don't want to say luck, but just a coincidence, let's say? Because luck seems like unfair. Is it just a coincidence, or is it really a change in the system enabling us to kind of like save the legs and not have muscle injuries? Whatever we're doing, we haven't had a lot of, knock on wood, and that's the thing, I hate to jinx this thing talking about it a lot, but we haven't had a lot of like midweek, he got a knock in practice, he's out for 2 weeks and stuff this year. Is that just coincidence, or is that what Slot and his gang are doing?
I don't really believe in coincidence. I would say it's not. And we were talking about it a lot before. Like I remember talking about it specifically with you and Gordo prior to our last year's US tour, where we I think we watched Slot's first game against United, and we were already dissecting like what's different, and like the word that came up in that discussion was sustainability. So in terms of like the style of, we don't always got to be in sixth gear all the time. There are times where we could just pass it around and just be solid. And granted, there were some games, Wolves at Anfield, I think, and West Ham at Anfield come to mind, where we played basically to our strength for like the first 60 or so. And then the last 30, we play hyper defensively and just take our foot off the gas, let the opponent have the ball, just conserve our energy. As much as at the time that wasn't ideal, we've had probably less players out for it, right? We probably had players who maybe throughout the end of the club, throughout a season, at the end of a season with Klopp would probably be on the sideline, or would probably be playing and wouldn't be looking 100% right. So to answer your question, I don't think it's a coincidence. I think Slot has seen. Again, he always talks about, I came in here, I see the strengths with Jurgen's team, and obviously that's the PR answer, right? But then if he's looking at the team, he also sees what they're weak with, and a weakness I'm sure that he's identified is that these guys, they don't stay fit enough. So how can probably I integrate my style to these players in which, yeah, we're going to be effective, but then at the same time, we can keep guys healthy as well. And I think that's paid off greatly. And it will pay off even more next year when we get more depth, where he has more players that he could trust. So
yes, the trust factor, right?
yeah,
Like not just numbers, but
like right now, our best 11 has stayed relatively healthy, barring Kanate and Jota, who's just Jota, right? Like, but with Kanate, that was because of a tackle. So he's done a great job with our first 11. If we add more players, to back up that first 11, it's looking good if we're going by this sample size. So I'm positive.
I think the key word there is trust that you were saying, because we've had the players. It just felt like he did not trust them to be out there and do the same thing. Mm-hmm. And that's fair. I agree. I don't know if it'll be to this extent, but I remember we actually published a quote from him, like towards the end of the season, him talking about he came over and felt like what he has to really do with the squad is build stamina, like get legs under him. I don't know if that meant more for so they can like cope with what's being done at practice and they don't have muscle injuries, or he meant it in terms of like being longer lasting so we don't have a drop off after January, February kind of thing. But that's one of the things he's pointed out. And I've seen a couple of interviews. I know players always say when the new manager comes, like, oh, practices are so much harder and stuff. But I actually remember like Mo, I've seen an interview with Mo, I think it was with Sky, like he's talking about like after practice they're walking away and players are talking to each other saying like, holy cow, that was a bitch kind of thing. And when every player is saying that, obviously, so this is during summer. So I don't know if it's like what they're doing in terms of like the practice or like in like the preparation parts earlier on in the preseason. That's why I'm really even more excited about this year, where he's going to have a full preseason, and double like the fact that we're taking care of business early. So these people will be there for the preseason.
And we see it on the pitch as well. The style, it's not like it's not pure Gegen pressing. Like we press, but it's not pressing to the sixth gear. You know what I mean? Like, and there's less pressure on our CBs to like to defend one-on-one, or there's less one-on-ones with Allison, for example. There's less of the high risk, high reward, but and there's more of a steadiness. And this year it served us well. And like we always say, this isn't even Slot's team. Like if he actually gets his guys, like that's gonna be very interesting for us and for the league. Like.
And I think that's why, I've been saying, like, you watch the games, I'm sure, he loves, admires, and wanted to get the most out of, like, Trent's passing and stuff like that. But a lot of those turnovers have come when he's trying to do a diagonal, it falls short and stuff like that. Because it has not been as accurate as they used to be in the past. And I don't know, that's something that he was big on to start with. But he's mentioned himself, like, when you have a player like Trent with that ability, you want to use that ability. So based on the signings we're making, I'm assuming he's going to be able to use the strengths of these guys as well. And yeah, I mean, the window is open for another 6 days here till the 10th. That's why it's going fast and furious over the next 3-4 days. It's going to be pretty crazy. Fabrizio is going to be a busy guy posting what other people already posted, kind of a deal. But so do you think these two deals get done? By the time when we sit down here next week, are we talking about our two new players along with Frimpong?
I think just one.
Really? Which one?
Yeah. I'll go out of the limb and say Wirtz.
Wirtz gets done, but not Kerkez.
Yeah, I don't know. Like common sense would say 2 is probably done, but I feel like there's gonna be something. I'll play it on the safe side and say 1 of 2, and that's gonna be Wirtz.
Would you say that whoever doesn't get done at all?
No. It just took a little. There was just some, like it's still a formality, but then there was just something, I feel.
Ozan is asking on the way out. I guess we should address this. I'll be honest. When I saw his social media when him saying that, I did not realize there was this whole other rumor about him wanting number 10 or whatever. I actually thought, and I even mentioned on Discord, I'm like, I wonder if he's talking about, because everybody was saying he picked Liverpool over Bayern because we offered him a, like a different tactical outlook, more structured look into what we want out of him, and he's going to play the 10 and stuff like that. I didn't realize like there was this whole thing about number 10, which seems like pretty obnoxious.
Yeah.
Because it's not like Costas is wearing it, where we came like, hey, take that shit off, give it to Florian over there. But what do you make of that entire story? To me, it was kind of like a non-story that he.
It's a non-story. But
the only thing I like this for him to come out and say,
yes, I was about to say
it shows even more validity that he's all basically.
He's probably off. Yeah, he probably sees himself in a red shirt next year. He's just like, yeah, the number doesn't matter. But then behind the scenes, behind that statement, you're like, oh, so he sees himself wearing a Liverpool shirt, regardless of number. So yeah, really positive. It would be weird, but then Nunez is gone, obviously. So that 9 is open, but he's not a 9. So, right? Like, he's not a 9. So it would be weird for seeing him as a 9. So to answer your question, to answer Ozan Kabak's question, what number would he wear? Maybe, 15? I don't know. That's a bit weird.
Yeah, it depends on what opens up as well. That's why Rich was joking in Discord that 66 is open if he wants to take 66. But I don't know. I feel like the thing I liked about that is I almost sensed, once I heard the story, I could read that post in a different tone. And to me, it says a guy who's like waiting for Leverkusen to get it done, and he doesn't want it looking in public opinion like he's the one holding it back. Like, but am I gonna get I'll sign this, but am I gonna get number 10? Kind of like, I think he didn't want some image like that, because there will be people who believe that and mention that. So I think he wanted to get it out there that my deal is done. I'm good. You guys just gotta figure it out with Leverkusen over here. But I think it gets done. I honestly think both of them get done. The Kerkez price thing has been known for quite some time. Like, it's not a new ordeal.
Is that a release clause, by the way?
What was that?
Is that a release clause or a valuation?
I think that's an evaluation.
Okay.
It's not a release clause, because I think if it was a release clause, we would just pay him and take him anyway.
Yeah.
But I think he's still under contract for 2 more years. I want to say, don't quote me, but so it is more what Bournemouth wants, and I think either there'll be like a player involved or something like that, some kind of an ordeal going in between. Maybe we'll send Costas over there as a left back. Dude, there you go. We'll give you a legend. And you give us Kerkez. We give you a legend. You give us Kerkez.
For the record, I said he was a cult hero before people take it out into context. I said he was a cult hero, right?
Diego Jota versus that. Yeah, I mean, man. Let's hope that those deals do get done. I really do think they're gonna get done before we even get to the weekend.
Look at you being positive.
I know, right?
Me being cautious, and you're like, 2 out of 2 get done.
Because I haven't done anything to jinx it, so I'm a big part of this process myself. I have still not watched Wirtz YouTube video, and you guys are welcome. Because I know the moment I watched it, that was going to jinx the whole thing. So you guys are welcome. I'm not watching it until he's official and signed over here. So hopefully it will happen in the next few days, and we'll talk about that. But any final thoughts? I know there was a lot more that we wanted to get to, but as always, we went on when we go through your list of legends, I didn't realize it was like 80 pages long.
For the record, like, final words for like a summary of our discussion. For me,
everybody's a legend for me.
Kelleher is a tier 3 legend, which means Kelleher is a tier 3 legend, and tier 3 includes guys like Wijnaldum. Because of, you're talking about iconic moments. Barcelona 4-0. That is just unforgettable. He fits the longevity, right? You're gonna remember those Wijnaldum goals, right? 20 years from now against Barcelona. So I see him as a legend. Divock as well is a tier 3 legend. Champions League final goal, Barcelona 2 goals, like goals against Everton, like the Jordan Pickford T-Rex arms, legend. You're gonna remember those 20 years from now, Tim.
Which one am I gonna remember?
Divock Origi's
Divock, that's what I mean. Divock, I mean, we've had a discussion when he left, and there was multiple moments that we discussed. Which one is the most memorable?
Right.
There's that Divock goal. There's that Everton game.
Yeah.
I mean, that goal is one of the best goals I've seen to date. So, like, that long ball coming up, he just brings it down and like volleys it over.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's the corner taken quickly. There is the Newcastle, was it?
Yeah,
Newcastle
Newcastle
Jamie
at the death.
Thompson?
Yeah, at the death. Newcastle at the death. Yeah.
See, that's why he's a cult hero. I still don't. He's a legend in the sense that you will never forget him. He's not a legendary player in terms of ability, but he's a cult hero. Everybody will remember him for a while. I think James Milner is in that category. At least for me, I don't think it will be for a lot of Liverpool fans.
James Milner?
For
No,
me,
he's
it
not
is,
a legend.
but
He's
I
not a
don't
legend.
think a lot of people in 20 years will be like, "Oh yeah, James Milner." I think James Milner is a legend within himself as a personality, and like what he can do and what he does and stuff like that.
Last question. Last question before we go. I mentioned Wijnaldum in my tier 3 list. Do you think ability wise, the ability could be argued for Wijnaldum? Because I think 2018 to 2020 he was a world class midfielder.
So what's the question? Like, are we like?
No. Do you think
Are
he
we
can
making a
be?
legend ability wise? You're saying?
Yeah. In that specific category for the ability portion, because you mentioned Divock didn't have the ability. For Wijnaldum, could you say the same?
Oh, I mean, Divock had the ability. I just don't think. I mean, first of all, that was a front three that he was never going to break into.
Okay.
I mean, who was he going to get benched? Mane or Bobby? Like he was just not going to get into that front three. He was content with his role, probably knowing it's almost like sitting behind Ali, like knowing, hey, you know what? I know, like this is the guy that I got to replace. That is not going to happen, but I'm going to do my thing, kind of a deal. Like Kelleher, what a legend. But where is Divock today? I don't know. He's probably modeling somewhere in Milan or something. But Wijnaldum, I think he's one of the best shielders of the ball I've ever seen. That's like one thing I will remember when we, I keep saying 20 years. I probably won't be around, but then, you'll hopefully say on my behalf in 20 years that, he was one of the best shielders of the ball I've seen. Really is. And really would be an excellent fit for the midfield right now, I think, in terms of like ability.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
He's one guy that could do what Szoboszlai does and stuff like that. But I still would not put him at a legend level because you pulled basically one. And I think that's kind of unfair on that midfield, to be honest with you, because that was a blue collar midfield. So when we say moments, they never were able to get those moments because they did the work for Trent and Robertson to get those moments and, the front three to get those moments. So it's kind of unfair on that midfield with like Milner and Henderson and even like Fabinho and stuff like that. Genie was last seen in Saudi Arabia, correct?
He still is in Saudi Arabia.
Is he?
I think so. I think he was.
You said it like you were sure, but then I don't know if you typed that fast on Google.
No, I haven't Googled it. From what I know, yeah, he was in the Saudi league last year.
He is playing for Al Ettifaq.
Stevie's club.
In the Saudi Pro League still.
Yeah.
Okay, while we're since Googling on our way out over here, let's do where Divock is. I thought he went back to Belgium. I don't know why I think this. Oh, he's still at AC Milan?
Oh my gosh, really?
AC Milan? No.
He's trying to pull the Liverpool shtick where he's just trying to hide and they hopefully don't.
Now that you say that, I think I've seen him come on this year.
I remember my former coworker who was an AC Milan fan said he was horrible whenever he played.
He played that was 47 games there, scored 2 goals. No, last played, according to his stats over here, was when he was on loan for Forest. He came to Forest on loan. 20 games, 0 goals. That's right. That's where. So he's officially an AC Milan player.
Yeah.
But he was on loan at Forest. I don't know if that. I mean, obviously the loan is over. I don't know if his contract is still on, but now he is a cult hero and in some ways a
legend for me, man. Legend for me.
For the message to the kids out there is sort your legend, right? Get the tiers sorted. But yeah, that's like an interesting guy. See, that could be a poll of some sort. We got to ask what people, because obviously we have very different definitions.
That's a very long poll.
And that's why most of these arguments are more based on the definition than the player when people argue about players, because they their requirements and criteria is different more than like what they think of the player themselves. So, but we'll wrap it up for today. We went all over the place. Thanks for all those watching us today, liking, commenting, and all that kind of stuff. Do hit the thumbs up. grab a friend by the ear and bring him over here. A lot's coming your way.
You can hit
But
the dislike as well. It helps us.
yeah, I mean,
if you didn't like the show, yeah.
Trust me, John knows, because I think that video is over 100,000 views or something like that on Facebook now. And oh yeah, a lot of hate's coming your way. But
what are you gonna do, man?
The gang will be back tomorrow night. The Bald Crew. So 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern. Do tune in for that. And I'll be back Friday morning with God knows who. Hopefully, the entire Reckless crew will be here with Kazi and Anan over here. Comments. Okay, we're trying to get comments. See, that's the thing. So when you said it like that, now we're not going to get any freaking comments unless they have like 85 tiers like John over here. So yeah, let's not do that. Comment if you think is a legend or not, so that we get some other comments as well. But hey, thanks a lot as always, everybody, and we'll see you guys. I'll see you guys Friday. Do tune in tomorrow night. Take care.